was delivering 3 big pizzas and 2 wings to this house. It was getting dark outside, and the house was really close to the biggest cemetery in Independence, Missouri, like literally just 4 houses down the street. When I walked up to the front door, I could see the cemetery from their yard, and kinda gave me the creeps, to be honest. This man answered the door, seemed nice enough. I said hey, and gave him my usual delivery smile. Behind him, sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, was this little girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old. She had long brown hair and was watching TV or something. I figured she was probably his daughter. She looked up and waved at me, which was sweet. Then the guy took the receipt from me so he could fill in the tip and sign for the credit card payment. While he was doing that, I'm standing there holding all this food. 3 large boxes stacked up, plus 2 containers of wings. And man, my arms were getting tired. That's a lot of food for just 2 people, I thought. So I said to him, "You and your daughter must be really hungry. That's a lot of food." The second those words came out of my mouth, he stopped writing right in the middle of signing his name. Like, his pen just froze on the paper. He looked straight up at me with this look I'll never forget and said, "What did you just say?" He went from normal to ghost white in like 2 seconds. My mind was racing trying to figure out what I could have possibly said to make him react like that. Then he says, real quiet and serious, "There's no little girl here." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" "She's right there behind you." But when I looked past him into the living room, the spot where she was sitting was empty. Then he tells me I'm the 3rd person who's mentioned seeing a little girl since he moved into this house about 6 months ago. The pizza guy before me, the UPS driver, and now me. All of us saw the same thing. A little girl with long brown hair, sitting on the floor. The cemetery was right down the street, and suddenly that didn't feel like a coincidence anymore. I got goosebumps all over my arms. Right about then, this woman walks up behind him, and I'm guessing his wife. She's got brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing like a t-shirt and jeans. Looks to be in her 30s, maybe. She slaps him on the shoulder, but like she's been having this argument with him for months. She starts taking the pizza boxes and wing containers from me, and let me tell you, I was happy to let her because my arms were killing me by then. She says, "See? I told you. I keep telling you over and over." She's got this tone like she's frustrated but also kind of relieved that someone else finally backed up her story. Then she looks right at me with these tired eyes and says, "And it's way more than just 3 times 2. It happens all the time. The mailman, the neighbor kids, repair guys, literally everyone who comes to this house. He's the only person who's been living here that hasn't seen this little girl. Everyone else sees her." The guy just stands there looking defeated. His hands are shaking a little as he hands me back the receipt with his signature. I mumbled something like, "Thanks, have a good night," and walked back to my car, trying not to look like I was hurrying. But I definitely was. I got in my car and just sat there with the engine off for what felt like forever. Probably 10 or 15 minutes. I kept looking back at their house, then at the cemetery down the street with all those old headstones, barely visible in the dim street light. I couldn't stop replaying what just happened. The little girl sitting cross-legged on that carpet, her long brown hair, the way she waved at me like any normal kid would. I must have reached for my keys to start the car 3 or 4 different times before I actually turned it on. My hands were still a little shaky. In my 5 years of delivering pizza all over Independence, hitting every weird neighborhood and sketchy apartment complex, nothing like that had ever happened to me. I've seen drunk people, angry people, people in their underwear, but never a ghost. At least, I don't think I had. I drove straight back to work and told my manager I wasn't feeling good and needed to go home early, which wasn't really a lie. I felt pretty sick to my stomach after what just happened. I've been thinking about it, and I bet his friends and family have probably told him about seeing this little girl ghost before. But he probably figured his wife was getting them to mess with him or play some kind of joke. You know how it is. When people you know tell you something weird, you think maybe they're just messing around. But then I showed up, some random pizza delivery guy who doesn't know him at all, never met him before in my life, and I said the exact same thing about seeing a little girl. That's when it really hit him that this wasn't a joke. It's been about 6 years now, and I can still remember her big blue eyes looking straight at me, and the way she smiled. She looked completely real, but thinking about it still gives me goosebumps. I'm a pizza delivery guy. Been doing this for like 2 years now. I actually love this job most of the time. But yeah, there's the occasional weirdo or creep, comes with the territory. So I'm heading to this house with their large pepperoni, and soon as I pull up, I get this gut feeling, like something's not right. The guy on the phone seemed cool enough, gave good directions and stuff. But this part of town always makes me a little nervous anyway. Now the guy doesn't come to the door right away, which honestly happens all the time. I'm just standing there on his porch waiting, and that's when I notice his main door is open. And there's just this sketchy looking screen door between me and his living room. I don't usually peek into people's houses. That's not my thing. But when everything's right there in front of you, it's kinda hard not to look. I'm scanning around trying to see if I can spot the guy, because sometimes customers are in the bathroom or watching TV with the volume up loud, and it happens a lot with older folks. And that's when I see these pictures hanging above his kitchen doorway. They're positioned right across from the front door, so I've got a clear view of them from where I'm standing. At first, I'm just glancing around casually, but something about those photos makes me look a little closer. I can't make out all the details from here, but there's definitely something off about them. Usually I wouldn't give a second thought to some random pictures on someone's wall, but these were seriously messing with my head. The first two weren't even in frames or anything. They looked like someone had literally cut them out of a newspaper or magazine with scissors. They were small, maybe like 3 by 4 inches, and both showed the exact same photograph. It was this super grainy black and white picture of this little kid. Looked like a boy, probably somewhere between 6 and 10 years old. Hard to tell exactly because the quality was so bad. Having 2 identical copies of the same photo is already weird as hell, but what really made my skin crawl was how much they looked like those missing child posters. You know what I'm talking about. Those creepy old black and white photos from like the 70s or 80s that they'd plaster all over telephone poles and store windows when some kid disappeared. The grainy quality, the way it was cropped, even the lighting, it was exactly like those posters that give you nightmares as a kid. I'm standing there staring at these things thinking, what the hell, when I hear footsteps coming toward the front door. The guy shows up, pays me cash, and actually tips me pretty well. I thanked him, handed over the pizza, and got the hell out of there. Now don't get me wrong, there's probably a million perfectly normal explanations for all that stuff. Maybe those were family photos or relatives who died or something. People keep weird mementos all the time. And honestly, I'm in college studying creative writing. So I know my brain tends to go to dark places and make up stories where there probably aren't any. Or maybe I just watch too many true crime documentaries. So I keep trying to convince myself there was some normal explanation. People do that kind of thing all the time. Or maybe the guy's one of those amateur detectives who tries to solve cold cases from his computer. But no matter how hard I try to rationalize it, I just can't shake this really bad feeling in my gut. The whole setup felt wrong, like genuinely sinister and disturbing. And who the hell tapes that kind of image to their living room wall? Especially in January, when there's no reason to have them up for any kind of anniversary or memorial date. And I actually collect old vintage photos myself, so I know what normal old pictures look like. But my gut reaction to these was really bad, like something was seriously wrong. I'm probably overthinking the whole thing, and there's probably some totally innocent reason for them being there. But honestly, this is the first time something on this job has really creeped me out in a long time. I went to my friend Courtney's wedding 2 days ago, and I still can't stop thinking about what happened. I grew up in a very religious family, and we went to church every Sunday, followed all the rules, and didn't question anything. Courtney and I met at that church when we were kids, and over the years, we got close, but as we got older, I slowly stopped going. I changed, but Courtney stayed involved. She's probably the only person from that church I still talk to. The wedding was in a small church hall just outside town, and when I walked in, I recognized some faces from the past. Courtney ran up and gave me a big hug. She seemed so happy I came. But I noticed people watching us, like they didn't understand why she was being friendly to me. I sat down at my table and started using my phone. Then a guy came and sat next to me. He said he was supposed to sit at my table because that's what the seating chart said. He told me his name was Anthony and that he was friends with the groom. And he seemed like he really wanted to get to know me. So when the dancing started, they played the song Brown Eyed Girl. He asked me to dance with him. We danced together for most of the night, and he was actually a really good dancer, which surprised me. We talked between songs and laughed a lot. Then, around 11 p.m. or so, he excused himself to go to the bathroom. About 10 minutes later, I needed to go too, so I headed to the restroom as well. When I got back to our table, I immediately noticed something was off. My purse wasn't where I had left it. I looked around the table and even checked under it, thinking maybe it had fallen. That was really strange because I distinctly remembered setting it down right next to my chair when I first sat down. I was getting pretty tired by then. It had been a long day with the ceremony and everything. I started second-guessing myself and thought, maybe I'm just being forgetful, or maybe I actually left it in the car after all. So I walked out to the parking lot, clicked my key fob to find my car, and got in to look around. Sure enough, there was my purse sitting right on the center console. I stared at it for a moment, still feeling confused. I could have sworn I brought it inside with me. But honestly, it was almost midnight at that point, and I'd had a couple glasses of wine during dinner. I figured I was just more tired than I realized, and my memory was playing tricks on me. So I grabbed the purse and didn't think much more about it. I went back inside and danced some more, but I noticed Anthony wasn't around anymore. I found the groom and asked him where Anthony went. He told me that Anthony had left because he said he wasn't feeling well. A little while later, I started feeling sick too. My stomach felt really bad. I said goodbye to Courtney and walked to my car to go home. I got in my car and put my keys in to start it. But then I looked in my rearview mirror and saw something weird. It looked like someone had quickly ducked down behind my car near the trunk area. I took my keys back out and got out of the car to look. I walked around to the back and opened my trunk. That's when I saw him. Anthony was hiding in my trunk, crouched down low. I started screaming really loud and ran away from my car. Anthony jumped out and started chasing me. I ran back inside the wedding and found Courtney right away. I told her what happened, and she immediately got her husband. But Anthony was gone. He wasn't there anymore. Courtney's husband looked around the whole parking lot and said he didn't see Anthony's car anywhere, so he must have driven away. I left the wedding and drove home, but I still feel sick when I think about what happened. It scares me so much because if I hadn't looked in my rearview mirror, Anthony could have come home with me. Courtney feels really bad about the whole thing. She said she's sorry she invited him to the wedding and that she had no idea he would do something like that. Ever since that night, I haven't left my house. I'm too scared to go outside because I'm worried Anthony might be out there waiting for me, just like he was hiding in my car. Let me start from the beginning. So I had this job at Tony's Pizza down the street from my apartment, and every morning I'd drag myself out of bed super early and catch the 6:30 bus to get there. I know it sounds crazy, but I'd show up like 3 hours before my actual shift started. The thing is, I've always been really anxious about everything. Like my heart starts racing if I feel rushed or if something unexpected happens at work. So I figured out that if I got there early, I could take my sweet time getting ready for the day. I'd unlock the place while it was still dark outside. Then I'd make myself a coffee and sit down to write out everything I needed to do that day. But the worst part was always the mess from the night crew, like pizza sauce splattered everywhere and dishes piled up in the sink. Now most mornings, I had the whole place to myself until around noon, when the lunch rush staff would start trickling in. Now if we had a really big order early in the day, my boss Mike would come in at 10 to help me out. He was actually pretty cool about understanding that I needed the extra time to get things ready. So this one Tuesday morning, we got hit with this massive order. 17 large pizzas that had to be ready by noon, right when we opened to the public. So when I saw the order the night before, I made sure to get there even earlier than usual that day. And Mike showed up right at 10 like he promised. We worked like a machine for the next 2 hours, and we'd actually pulled it off with time to spare. But then, just as we're catching our breath and wiping the sweat off our faces, we both heard this huge crash that seemed to shake the whole little building. I grabbed Mike's arm without even thinking and whispered, "Did you hear that too?" Now, you have to understand, behind us is this huge metal shelf that holds literally everything we use. It's like this tall rack with all our 6-inch pizza pans stacked up, plastic containers full of pepperoni and sausage, little cups for the different sauces, and these heavy metal pans we use for the pizza crusts. I was already mentally preparing myself to spend the next hour picking up scattered pans and cleaning sauce off the floor. But when we turned around and looked, everything was exactly where it was supposed to be. Every single pan was still perfectly stacked. Even the wobbly stuff on the top shelf that always looks like it's about to fall, totally fine. I literally got down on my hands and knees and crawled around that whole kitchen looking for whatever fell. But I found nothing, not a damn thing. And there wasn't even construction happening anywhere near us. Then customers started showing up for lunch, and I'm trying to act normal. And after that day, I swear I never felt alone in that place again. Even when I'd come in super early by myself, I'd catch myself turning around for no reason, just waiting for another weird sound. I've got like 3 or 4 other weird stories from working at that place. But here's what really bugged me. Mike completely shut down about it. Like the next week I tried bringing it up again. I was like, "Hey, Remember that crazy loud crash we heard? And he just looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language and changed the subject. He'd start talking about inventory or ask me to go clean something. It was so obvious he was avoiding it. The thing is, I know he remembers. I could see it in his face whenever I brought it up. This weird look like he was uncomfortable and wanted me to just drop it. But he acted like it never happened at all. That honestly made it worse for me. If he had just said, "Yeah, that was weird, but whatever," I probably would have gotten over it. But him pretending like we didn't both experience the exact same thing, that made me feel like I was going crazy. We both know what we heard that day. There's no doubt about it.